The story we're exploring today is The Hunger Games Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. It's the second story in the Hunger Games series, and it shows what happens after survival. Katniss Everdeen and Peeta Mellark won the brutal Hunger Games. They should have been safe. They should have been free. But their victory created something dangerous: hope. And in a world controlled by fear, hope is the most dangerous thing of all. When Katniss and Peeta survived the first games, it wasn't just luck. At the final moment, instead of killing each other, they threatened to eat poisonous berries so that the capital would lose its winner. The capital had no choice. They declared both of them winners. To the capital, it looked like a clever act of love. But to the people watching across the districts, it meant something very different. It meant the capital could be challenged. Katniss didn't plan to start a rebellion. She only wanted to save herself and Peeta. But the people living under the capital's control saw something powerful in that moment. They saw someone refusing to follow the rules. And sometimes one small act of courage becomes more powerful than an army. Across the districts, people start whispering about Katniss. They begin seeing her as a symbol of resistance. Not a soldier, not a leader, just a girl who showed that the capital isn't untouchable. And symbols spread faster than weapons. Think about real life for a moment. Many big movements start with something small. One person standing up to unfair rules. One worker refusing corruption. One student speaking against injustice. At first it looks like a tiny moment, but people watching begin to realize something important. If one person can do it, maybe others can too. That's how courage spreads. And President Snow, the leader of the capital, understands this danger immediately. He knows that people don't rebel because they are strong. They rebel because they start believing change is possible. And Katniss made people believe. Soon after the games, Katniss and Peeta must go on something called the Victory Tour. They travel through all the districts so the capital can celebrate their win. On the surface, it looks like a celebration, but in reality, it's a performance. The capital wants them smiling, waving, and acting grateful. They want the story to look beautiful and controlled. Before the tour begins, President Snow visits Katniss personally, and he gives her a quiet warning. He tells her that her stunt with the berries has already caused trouble. Some districts are starting to rebel. If Katniss doesn't convince people that everything she did was simply because she was in love with Peeta, the capital will punish entire districts. In other words, she must act. She must play the role the capital wants. Because the capital knows something very important: whoever controls the story controls the people. They broadcast everything on television. They design every moment carefully. They show only the emotions and scenes that support their version of reality. If the public believes the Hunger Games are noble and honorable, the system survives. But if people begin to see the games as cruel and unfair, the entire system starts to fall apart. This idea exists in the real world too. The stories we see on television, social media, and news channels influence how people understand reality. Headlines shape opinions. Videos go viral. Narratives spread quickly. And sometimes the story people believe becomes more powerful than the truth itself. Katniss begins to realize that she is trapped inside a performance. Every smile, every word, every gesture is being watched by millions. But something else is happening at the same time. The people watching are beginning to see the cracks. During the Victory Tour, Katniss visits District 11, the home district of Rue, the young girl who died during the first Hunger Games. Katniss honors Rue in front of the crowd. She speaks about how brave she was and how she deserved better. The crowd becomes silent. Then something unexpected happens. An old man whistles a 4-note tune. It's the same tune people used in the districts as a sign of respect and rebellion. Then people slowly raise 3 fingers in the air. It's a quiet gesture, but it means something powerful. It means unity. The capital immediately responds with violence. The old man who started the gesture is executed on the spot, but the damage is already done. The people have seen each other. They know they are not alone anymore. Fear is the capital's strongest weapon. Every year, the Hunger Games remind the districts what happens when they rebel. Their children are forced to fight to the death for entertainment. It's a brutal message: obey or suffer. Fear keeps people quiet. Fear keeps them divided. Fear makes survival the only goal. But fear has one weakness. It only works when people feel alone. The moment people realize others feel the same anger and frustration, fear begins to lose its power. History shows this pattern again and again. For years, people may stay silent, but eventually someone speaks up. Then someone else joins them, and slowly the silence begins to break. Katniss begins to see this change happening across the districts, and the capital sees it too. President Snow understands that Katniss has become dangerous. She didn't ask for power. She didn't try to lead anything. But the people see her as something more than a survivor. They see her as hope. So the capital decides to take control again. The Hunger Games are approaching their 75th anniversary, a special event called the Quarter Quell. Every 25 years the rules change to remind the districts that the capital holds absolute power. When a new rule is announced, it shocks everyone. The tributes will not come from the normal population this time. Instead, they will be chosen from previous winners. That means Katniss must return to the arena. The capital claims its tradition, but everyone understands the truth. This is a trap. The capital wants Katniss dead. If the symbol disappears, maybe the rebellion will disappear too. This moment reveals an important truth about power. When authority begins to feel threatened, it often reacts with stronger control. Rules suddenly change. Punishments become harsher. Leaders tighten their grip. The capital is trying to destroy hope before it spreads further. But something unexpected happens once the new Hunger Games begin. The tributes this time are not ordinary children. They are experienced survivors. Many of them have lived with the trauma of the games for years, and many secretly hate the capital. Some of them begin forming alliances with Katniss and Peeta. Among them are strong and clever characters who understand the arena better than anyone else. Inside the arena, Katniss begins to see something strange. Several tributes are not acting like enemies. They seem more interested in protecting her than fighting her. At first, she doesn't understand why. She believes everyone is simply trying to survive. But behind the scenes, something much bigger is happening. A secret rebellion has already begun forming in the districts. And some of the victors in the arena are part of that plan. Their goal is not just to survive the games. Their goal is to get Katniss out alive, because the rebellion believes she is the symbol that can unite the districts. The most interesting part is that Katniss never wanted to be that symbol. She never wanted to lead anything. She only wanted to protect her family and survive. But throughout the story, people keep risking their lives for her. Not because she is the strongest fighter, but because she represents something rare. She represents courage without selfishness. In the arena, Katniss continues trying to protect the people around her. Even when survival becomes difficult, she forms alliances and helps others stay alive. Peeta secretly tells other victors that Katniss must survive at all costs. He believes the rebellion needs her more than anyone else. Not because she seeks power, but because people trust her. In real life, many respected leaders didn't begin by trying to lead millions of people. They simply stood up for what felt right in a difficult moment, and others followed. Leadership often begins with responsibility, not ambition. Eventually, the secret plan inside the arena is revealed. The rebels are not trying to win the games. They're trying to break the arena itself. In the final moments, Katniss shoots an arrow into the arena's force field, destroying the system controlling the game. The arena collapses. Chaos erupts. and a group of rebels rescues Katniss from the wreckage. But when she wakes up, she learns something shocking. Peeta was captured by the Capitol, and the rebellion has officially begun. The strongest lesson hidden in this story is simple but powerful. Hope spreads faster than control. The Capitol ruled with fear for decades. They believed violence propaganda and power could keep people obedient forever. But once people began believing change was possible, the entire balance started shifting. Katniss never gave speeches. She never organized protests. She simply acted with courage in moments when it mattered. And those moments gave people something they had been missing for a long time. Hope. That hope slowly turned into resistance. And resistance began turning into revolution. There's also a practical lesson here for everyday life. You don't need to be in a battle arena to apply this idea. Small acts of courage matter more than people realize. Speaking up when something is unfair, supporting someone who is being treated badly, refusing to stay silent when the truth matters. These moments might feel small in the moment, but just like Katniss's berries in the first games, they can start something much bigger than expected. The world of the Hunger Games reminds us of something important. Fear can force obedience for a while, but the moment people begin believing in something better, the balance of power quietly starts to change. And sometimes the spark that starts that change comes from someone who simply refuses to play by the rules anymore.